Sometimes there's so many questions when I come to you and just looking at you and just sitting next to you. I think before even I ask them, I feel like I have already, the heart knows the answer. So, so these are not really questions, these are more of a reflections. And thank you so much for taking our time, for your being, and for sharing. And I think you share what our heart already knows. And I think in some ways the deepest, you just as a mirror, at least for me, it just, you reflect it back. And in such a sahaj, in India we could say sahaj, which is in a very natural way, without you bring me in touch with my heart again. And so yeah, thank you. So please give me permission. So these are not really questions, but more a heart's conversation. If there's anything which needs to be shared, which needs to be, uh, through me to, just to whoever is seeking out, in really to connect with themselves, to connect with each other, and to connect with the divine. And so maybe we can start with something just in today's context. How do we sometimes, with all that is going on, we find it difficult to go forward, and we feel lost. And your practice has been the heart's way, always, in being in touch with the heart, and just looking everything as really as one. And yet we tend to forget in our day-to-day lives that connection. So that's just a prompt, and then anything which comes in your heart right now, maybe we can start with that, and then can go forward.
I have to thank you, Madhu, that we are able to share once more this space together, where there is so much resonance in being here, present, listening to the heart, listening deeply, actually to that everybody knows in essence. If we are getting still, if we are able to be really present in the moment, and then the love is revealed inherently in presence, that is able to love whatever it is. And in the present moment, where humanity has so much challenges to face in our world, I think we can read that as an invitation to go deeper into the understanding and experiencing what we really are. We are, in a way, godly beings experiencing as a human being, making experiences in order to grow, to understand more deeply that we are, in essence, pure consciousness, pure being, pure Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda. And if we discover that, revealed in every moment new, then we brighten up. We have, in a way, a direction again in these difficult outer times we face as humanity in the whole world. We have a direction we can look into that has, in a sense, joy, beauty, creativity, peace. And from this, we create the future now, when we start to sing the heart song, each individually, in a chorus, as a symphony in unity.
I remember, Annette, once a child asked me, what does peace means to you? And something spontaneously, and I think it's just really through your teachings and through your guidance, this answer which came was, when my heart breathes. And so could you also share about you know, how does we allow that to our heart breathe? Because it's like breathing. We don't realize, we breathing, but we're not really breathing. It's like in the yogic practices. So same way, what are the practices just to be to connect to our heart, to allow to it breathe, so that we feel that Satchit Ananda, and to connect with others. And as you said, when you're singing your own heart song, you connect with others, collectively.
Well, you see, I think we live in a very special time where also for every human being there are so many paths and ways to give a boat to cross the river. That's how you would traditionally talk about it. Some are, concentrating on breathing. Some are concentrating in mantra praxis. Some are concentrating in being present, very simply. And whatever suits a human being, is in resonance with his heart, is fine. And in a way, it's like digging a well. Of course, you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper till you reach really, as an experience, the song of your heart coming out of nothingness, of stillness. And so we have nowadays, that is very special, so many methods, techniques, yogic techniques, we can use as an entry point. And I see in that kind of evolution, also in spirituality taking place, that it is much easier than 50 or 60 years ago, because so many people nowadays ask deep questions. Why I am here? Where have I been before I was born, and where I'm going when I'm dying? And what is the purpose of this chaotic life at the moment? Why I'm here? So I think that as so many people are meditating, are practicing yogic practice or other practices, being just present in the moment, it helps the whole humanity rising its consciousness, which still is in mainstream separated. It's not yet one. We still live in a kind of duality. So it's about overcoming, transcending duality with a certain practice that connects you with your inner essence. And the essence is really peace. It's love. It's pure joy to live in that moment. It's grace you feel to live in that specific historic moment here on earth, to contribute in your unique way in this big evolutionary crisis that we start to overcome together as humanity. So, yes, that is special nowadays. And I think in this process of recognizing who we really are, the brain, the mind focus starts to come at its proper place. And the heart starts to be more in the center of our whole being, experiencing, having a direction, living a daily life out of the heart space, which is very interesting because it is exactly in the middle of the horizontal and the vertical line. The heart is there where it's crossed the two axes, and it's the quinta essentia. There is the place of the heart. And we know scientifically nowadays that the radiance of the heart is the biggest shining subtle realm of a human being. So the perspective of the heart, when I look at a human being, not by outer attributes, which we normally see by our senses, but I look at the same time in a deeper level through the heart at another human being, I see his inner light. And I connect very differently to this person, because connecting light to light, there is no separation. You are me and me, I'm you. And that makes a complete, I would say, revolutionary revelation. In a sense, as you experience that, you understand when I harm you, I harm myself. When I do good to you, I do good to me. There is no separation. And this for whole humanity, but not only for humanity, for the animals, for every living being, for all the plants, for the Mother Earth, for the whole cosmos. And that is the dawn, the beginning of the new area we are entering. It's a birthing process, actually, what is taking place at the moment on Earth, leaving separation, the myth of separation behind us, and remembering, because inside we know that their life is one. All that exists is inseparably one. And out of that, really a new earth can be born in the heart, the one heart of the whole humanity, carried in the heart of the whole humanity, because the human being plays a central role in that big transformation that is happening on Earth. Through its consciousness, matter is recognized as divine, and seen like that, it's a seeing without seeing that is real seeing. The perfume of Ananda is given to the cosmos.
Your words are like meditation, Annette. Thank you. It just, in some ways, the mind, as you were speaking, the child in me or the mind. Oh yeah, but how do we see that light? How do we see, that we really are one? I mean, those are questions. But then, the mind dropped for me, at least when I was listening to you, and I just knew you just know it as being present, being in this moment, in this now, and. No, thank you. And I maybe in the heart space, maybe just one last personal inquiry I had was because we often talk about divine, and divine is a very and that comes to the spiritual part in today's how we relate spirituality in the last decade or in the last generation, and how do we see it right now, and so bhakti or devotion has played a large part in my culture. As I had grown up, I could see my own grandfather, my a lot of devotion, and I also know that devotion plays a very major part in really opening, expanding our heart to really see the not just living beings, but also the plants and the animals, the non-living things, as really as one inseparable part of us. So if you could just share just briefly about the role of devotion and how do we fill our heart, or maybe open our heart to allow that devotion to fill that, to have more bhakti, because that's when the reason drops. That's when the mind drops. When the heart is so, it becomes this. It's filled with that devotion.
What is the English word for when you?
Bowing?
No, not bowing. Sri Aurobindo said it. There are three terms he says about You have to have a direction, then you make the stop, and you go into, not, when you devote, it's not devotion,
Yes,
it's
like a
with
surrender.
S, surrender.
Surrender.
Yes, surrender. Yes, okay, because surrender and devotion has for me
exactly.
are very close.
Okay.
That is important.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then maybe you can lead us into the new spiritual, the way we connect to it, and also you often mention about keeping the middle space empty. So if you could just lead into that and talk about that.
Yep. So you ask about devotion. Well, in the Western culture, devotion is a word that is a bit difficult. And I understand in India, devotion is very important in a deeper sense. And also I think, East and West could learn so much from each other. In the West, we have much more, the human rights, the democratic movement and all that, which is important also. But the kind of philosophy we have is very different than the so-called philosophy of the East, which is based on, Sri Aurobindo says that, on the logic of the, how is it called, the infinite, the logic of the infinite, which can only be experienced. That is very, very different. So I think, if these two come more together in an integrative way, we can look from the Western side to devotion at a different kind of perspective. Because in a way we know it in a different way in Europe too. Because, in earlier times, and I think the young people nowadays too, you have your idols. And there's a devotion in a way to these idols, or, big singers, or, whatever it is. And you connect it more, really, the devotion to the divine. And in essence, even the devotion of kind we have in the Western is more on a superficial level. If you go deeper, it is the longing to become one, also there, which in the eastern part here in India, you have clearly directed more traditionally to the divine. So, devotion, what does it when we are like, in a way, having an inner picture, an inner feeling of wanting to be one with something that is higher than you are as a human being, when you limit yourself to the body and to the mind and the feeling and all that. So it has to do, when we do that, in a way you give up your burden of being little, separated. And in a devotion there is like an inner movement, I would call it, where you feel in a way for a moment at home. It's not this earthly home, it's much more than that. It is all, that means the complete one home. And so I think this kind of devotion can be very helpful. What is the other word of?
Surrender.
Surrender, exactly. Devotion and surrendering, there's a connection to both. And surrendering, when I may say that so, even when you make love as a man and a woman or whatever connection there is, you surrender. to the process. And we say as above, so below, so you have the same universal laws on different levels. So surrendering in a deep sense to the divine is such a beauty in itself, because you forget yourself as an identified, separated being, and you are in a way opening up to something that means really you as a I am, or I, or whatever you want to call it. So the act of surrendering has also for me a female quality. It is freeing yourself from all your limitations and scenting the perfume of the divine. So I think that can be a very important part. Now, nowadays, more practically, as there are different ways of devotion, how does it go in a very practical way? There is a possibility that you are aware when you think, and then you make a step and you say, no thinking, no thinking. Just a moment, no thinking. And in this no thinking, even the surrendering, even the devotion is getting transparent and imminently. For example, because to reconnect with Mother Earth is so important at the moment, when you look at a plant or a tree, not thinking, just being there, looking plant, looking tree, you are one with the tree, and it is absolutely fulfilled. There is in it not the knowing from the education and, the science and all that, but there is a completeness of experiencing without experiencing this moment of oneness. So nowadays, it is much easier in a way to experience oneness without experiencing it, I have to say, as we realize that each moment we live is an invitation to complete devotion, which transcends that too. And it is. That's it.
Thank you, dear Annette. How would you frame the current challenges we are facing as a humanity in the current evolutionary context? If you could share a little bit more about that.
Yes, with great pleasure, because it helps us to understand where we are in and how we can move on together. And it is not at all disastrous, or we don't have to be really anxious. In a bigger perspective, it is a wonderful process that is taking place. I like to shortly take the perspective of our Earth, 4.5 billions of years. She was born, and at the beginning it was merely stone and water. And then when we take in a whole year the whole process of her evolution and what has taken place, we can say that in February, first life started to be born here on Mother Earth. And then it took millions of years till, for example, a fish was appearing in the water on our world. And that was only in November. Evolution went on, and we had the dinosaurs being present on Mother Earth from the 10th of December to the 24th of December. Then, and Sri Aurobindo says that too, and many others, we can say that a big leap in evolution has been taken when the first life started. And now the second big leap is when the human being came to live here on Earth. How they really came to live on the Earth is not yet clear. There are many secrets yet hidden, and we don't have yet a complete understanding, because there was also some interaction taking place in the cosmos regarding our evolutionary process. So human being was here, and first we had, I think, about 25 different types of human beings in the whole evolution, and then it was reduced 2,000 years ago from now. That is, when we make it specifically, about 1/4 to midnight on the 31st of December. So you see, in the whole context, the human being is a very new species. So the last few minutes are actually from the antiques till now, before midnight, our human history. So there was the second big quantum leap, that some human beings, some kind of beings with 2 legs, that had the gift of self-reflection. That was new. And now we are seeing that evolution is pushing us in a way. I also have to say, till now, the evolution was automatically, you can nearly say, and now evolution will flow over the consciousness of humanity, so that evolution itself gets conscious. That's the next step, where we overcome, transcend separateness, recognizing who we really are, one, without any separation at all, having unique millions of different forms, but being one at the same time. So the next step would be that evolution is now through the consciousness, or linked with the consciousness of humanity, to co-create consciously the next step in evolution. So we are in an evolutionary crisis where we have the wave of going into more separation is ended, and the wave returns into going to oneness, where a next quantum leap will take place. And we are at the beginning or in the middle of that. It's a birthing process. So that's why we have so many people already now on Earth that are awake, that know who they are, the I am, not the I am this and that, the I am. And it's still under the radar of mainstream, because there are still forces, that are, in a way, shadowing the light that wants to be born as pure consciousness through humanity. So that is the context. And if we understand that, the most important invitation of the day is to become a human being, a mature human being, fully conscious from moment to moment, loving what is. The love is in that very, very important, because the love from the heart that has no condition, that has no limitations, reaches every heart of a human being. Even on a very small crack, love can reach through this little crack the heart of a human being. And just remembering him, asking him, you know who you really are. Wake up. Become also a mature human being as a way of living. It's no theory. It's a way of living where you are not connected, but really one, listening to Mother Earth, to the plants, to the animals, to the cosmic realm, to that has no name, the eternal, whatever you want to call it, is now here, one with all that is.
Thank you so much, dearest Annette. So please, if you could share a little bit more about the potential of human beings, just taking it forward. How do we become aware of that, and also to live that moment day to day?
Yeah, I think the potential the human being carries in itself, it's enormous. And we have, of course, in the past, we had Buddha, we had Jesus, we had Mohammed, we had other saint beings, holy beings. They did incredible things. Jesus healed, for example, the one that were really sick and ill. Even dead people, he was able to, come back into life. And from Buddha, we have also stories like that, of course. Also in the Hindu, in every spiritual tradition, we had men and women. The women were more hidden, that were able to tap into the divine space that is still sleeping in mainstream humanity at the moment, human being. But you see, also, we have till now in our Western culture Newton thoughts, scientific ideas, materialistic view of or perspective of the world is in a way like it's not really what this new science give us as information in the quantum physics. First of all, that what we see is only 0.0001 the matter. The rest is dark, or I don't know how you call it. It's empty space. So also in the cell, for example, when you start to understand what is really matter, it is again to 99%, 9999, empty space. So what is really matter? What is really here sitting? What is a chair? And so the Newtonian world picture is, to a certain degree, it is useful, but we have the science of quantum physics since 100 years around. But it's not yet integrated in our mainstream understanding, which is very important. Because on the level of quantum physics, reality is completely different. We have, we can say, the outer level of existence, that there's a past, a present and future, this we know very well, where you can calculate when there's full moon and all of that, you know, yes. But then you have a deeper level where also Einstein made this formula, you know, that matter is in a way energy and high light speed. And in a deeper level, there is no space, no time. It is information and energy that is all at once everywhere, at the same time, without time. So they are completely different laws. And to understand also that the body, our human being, the stone, the grass and everything is, for example, to 99% empty space. So here sitting is to 99% empty space. Well, why don't we identify with the empty space instead of this little part, and we even don't know particle or wave, what it is. So that's very interesting. Now, in my understanding, if being present here, no thought, no emotion, just being here, we tap into the quantum field. The quantum field is a field of all possibilities. All possibilities. Normally, we have about 85% of the thoughts are always the same. So when we have a problem, we usually, by mind, take the experience from the past and project it in the future, which makes in time and space a line. You create with that already your future. And you limit yourself because you follow this line you have created yourself. Now, if we are in the presence, where there is no time, no space at all, it is unlimited. Now, here, we have the possibility to tap into this field of nothingness. 99% nothingness. And there all the possibilities are present, which gives us completely new ways or perspective how we can solve a problem. Also through intuition, not through mind, through inner glance, inner contemplation. Suddenly you get an impulse, an idea. Most beside of the scientific, really revolutionary discoveries were made like that, not by thinking. It happened afterwards that they had to think, to formulate it in a mathematics way. So it's very interesting. So, you know, I don't know if you have heard of Joe Dispenza, who was a man that had an accident with his bicycle. He was a triathlon athletic and broke his spine, and they said, you will be sitting for the rest of your life in a wheelchair. He said, no, I don't accept. And he lay just on the bed, meditating, visualizing his whole body complete. And he succeeded. And he gives now talks, and he has made a new way, always scientifically proved, that we have so much possibility in the field of being nobody, where there is only not predictable things happening, it's unpredictable. And you have there the possibility, all the possibilities to heal, for example, as he did. So that is just one experiment that is very much well documented. So that's one of the potential. Well, if you look at humanity and its discovery in a broader way, if more and more people are more conscious, not separated anymore, there will be new discoveries to help us to harmonize again our planet, our way of living, being one with the cosmos also, which would be dangerous to be discovered before, when it is misused in power for nationalistic or egoistic patterns we still have in ourselves. So I just want to say that in a way we have so much potential in being still, in the love for all that is. We can discover, as Sri Aurobindo and others said, we can overcome illness, death, unconsciousness, and really realize heaven on earth. Because this planet is meant to grow in an evolutionary context that we start to move from the tree of recognition, where the snake goes down into separateness, to the tree of life, where the snake symbolically has gone up as Kundalini energy, and the supramental, you can call it or whatever, comes down and celebrate heaven on earth. And there is so much to discover. There is, life is for humanity, not against humanity. And through the whole cosmos there is a law of, I call it, the soul good being, the intention in all manifestation, on whichever level it is always benevolent. It's Ananda that creates everything, supports everything, and gets back the forms into the formless. So, if we are open to the moment, not limiting our being, receiving, in a way, the grace that is always there within us and above us, even above and below, unites into the song of love in nothingness.